Who are some of our go-to authors? What podcasts are we listening to? And what Bible study tools do we find most helpful for the Christian? Welcome to the To Be the Church podcast, where we explore what it looks like to truly be the church in today's culture. The crew is here. Andrew, Ben, I'm Tyler. This is a fun YouTube comment we got a couple weeks ago, and so I thought I would bring this up, and love to hear your thoughts on it, because our buddy Chaz would like to hear our thoughts on it. He says this: I'd love to hear about some of your favorite podcasts, books, devotionals, pastors, authors you listen to. Maybe a favorite book about theology, and another on study, and another on subjects that you prefer. I know Andrew quotes from C.S. Lewis, Spurgeon, Timothy Keller, John Piper, and Joel Osteen a lot. But I'm wondering about, I added that last one by myself, sorry. Yeah. But I'm wondering about some others. I listen to podcasts when I drive a lot. Was wondering if there's some great go-tos that you have found that hit home with you. I know Logos is a great Bible study tool, but are there specific books within that you target and find most helpful? Who inspires you? Thanks, guys. So a lot of questions in there.
Wow.
Kind of a nice big softball that we can hit to any part of the field we want.
That's good. That's a metaphor for baseball, softball.
Baseball is coming in a few weeks. The best sport. That's
you
not
might
called
call
football.
it a layup, Ben. Yep. Right. Use the glass, please.
Yes.
Yep. All right. So, what do you got?
Candlestick Chronicles is a 49ers podcast from the Blue Wire podcast.
It's a little
group.
niche there.
Little niche, but
Or niche if you're...
I've had so many people come up to me and be like, "It's niche. I'm with you." I'm like, "Thank you."
You mean they're like, it's niche, I'm with you, because they're all like from Oklahoma.
Yeah, they got their corncob pipe. And
So, yeah, dude, Candlestick Chronicles is one of my favorite podcasts. The best 49ers podcast out there, Kyle and Chris. So this is a great question on podcasts. I find, Ben, I don't know, I feel like you listen to some pretty good ministry theology related podcasts. Yay, no? Yeah?
Not as much these days,
Okay.
but sometimes.
I struggle to listen to theology podcasts or ministry podcasts just because normally when I'm listening to a podcast, it's like when I'm trying to kind of detox, like I'm on a weekend, I'm working out in the yard, whatever, and I'm trying to like get my mind off of that kind of stuff. So,
most of mine are hobby related or sports or different things that I'm into, because it is kind of a day off. I mean, escape maybe sounds bad, but just like I don't want to be thinking deeply about ministry related stuff.
Why does escape sound bad?
Well,
because ministry is life?
No, I guess it doesn't sound too bad. There are obviously unhealthy ways to escape, but yeah, you and I have talked about this before. Like, I think we're kind of in the same boat. I don't listen to very much preaching at all. And especially since I became a lead and preach every week, like I don't know. I used to when I was like in my 20s. If I listen to preaching, it's because I want to know what a certain preacher has said about a certain passage or topic. And so I'll look it up, but
who will you look up in that regard?
Oh, I mean, I'll look up Piper, Alistair Begg.
So what's the Alistair Begg show? What's that one?
Truth for Life.
Truth for Life with Alistair Begg, B-E-G-G. That's phenomenal. If I ever listen to preaching, it'll be that, because that's like, he's such a masterful preacher that I'm not like, I can get lost in it, which most preaching is like, I'll listen to it a little too critically of like how the guy's going about it or whatever else. But Begg is just a genius, man. So, and
I think they take his sermons, his full sermons, and then for those episodes, they kind of chop them up and release one each day.
Yep.
A similar one would be the Ligonier. What do they call that one? But they have a daily show, which it's a lot of R.C. Sproul clips, but then they have newer guys on there a lot now. So that's a good one. But yeah, I don't... if I listen to preaching, it's either going to be like people I know, like you or my buddy Dave, or maybe my brother, because I know them and want to hear what they're saying. But
I opened up iTunes here on my computer and I'm looking through like all the podcasts that I have, like, just my whole library of podcasts, and there are, a lot of like sports ones, 49ers stuff, a lot of political ones, dude. Like from like popular political ones to like really not as popular, but very kind of technical political ones, you know, like on economics or
I don't think that's what Chaz is looking for here.
Sure. But here's some,
Pastor's Talk.
Pastor's Talk, yeah, that's a good one.
Dever and Lehman.
I really like that.
That's more for pastors.
Yeah.
Their latest episode was with Thomas about what to do after pastor's moral failure.
Really?
Thomas Terry was on there.
Yeah.
You should listen, yeah.
Yeah, I'll listen to that because those are really good. That is one that I do listen to here and there. I don't just like, that's not like a weekly for me, but they will have really interesting topics, Pastor's Talk, that knowing Chaz the way I do, that won't be one you'd like, Chaz.
The Briefing with Al Mohler. That's a good one, right? I was trying to do your Al Mohler impression.
I'm Albert Mohler, and this is The Briefing. Sunday, July 12th. Look what the Democrats did.
Those Democrats always doing stuff.
So I think like if people are looking for shows that are like similar to this one, as far as like in content,
good luck.
Like, yeah. There's a couple that I do appreciate. I don't listen to them regularly, but probably the most entertaining is called Happy Rant.
I don't listen to that. I know your buddy Dave does. Yeah.
I used to listen to
but it's
I guess Dave's my buddy too.
No, my buddy.
Ronnie Martin, who is maybe just the most entertaining guy in the world.
Okay.
He's a pastor in Oklahoma, maybe?
Chicago?
I don't know.
Illinois?
He used to be like a singer of a rock band that was really popular in the Tooth and Nail early 2000s world.
Okay.
But then Barnabas Piper as well. And then somebody else. Who's the third guy on that?
Ted
Cluck, who writes who helps write biographies
I
and such.
like Ted.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, and then For the Church, which should probably be our direct competitor, but just based on the name alone, For the Church.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Jared C. Wilson thing.
It's probably, the content of that's probably a little more put together than the stuff we're putting out, right?
Probably. What? Probably. And then,
meaning they know what they're talking about before they pull out the truly can.
And, before they pull out. And then a couple more that like, if I'm looking for a specific like Bible topic, I do really appreciate the work that Tim Mackey does. At the Bible Project and the Bible Project podcast, it's like they have these like 5-minute videos on stuff, but then like 90-minute podcasts on the same thing, and so that's pretty fun. And they're really informative. They are definitely looking at it. They're trying to look at it with no systematic theology lenses, and so sometimes that can create problems. They're trying just like very much just straight biblical theology and stuff like that, and trying to take the systematic side out of it completely, which again can create some things where you're like, did you really just mean what you said there? But
what's the name of the it's like gospel culture. What's the name of the one we just did as a staff?
You're Not Crazy. Yeah. It's made for the church leadership, but Ray Ortlund and Sam Alberry.
You're Not Crazy.
It's You're Not Crazy.
Kind of the TGC podcast. Is that the first season we did?
Yeah, we did the first season. The other's 10 episodes. 2 seasons, I think.
That's solid. That was solid content there for sure. I didn't agree with everything, but like I really like that one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This person asked about books and stuff too. I think obviously there's tons of new books every year that come out. I think the season of life I'm in is like, there's so many good old books that I have not yet read that, I mean, yeah, don't be too enthralled. I'd tell this person with like the newest bestseller, but like pick an author who's stood the test of time, like a J.I. Packer or an R.C. Sproul or someone like that who's written a lot on a lot of different topics, the Puritans, and just camp in that for a while. I mean, the Puritan paperbacks are gold and they're cheap and they're, they've even updated many of them where they're easier to read. And man, the Puritans, you could get lost for years in that. So stuff like that. Obviously, they mentioned Spurgeon, Lewis.
In that vein, who is an author that like when they say, I'm releasing this book, you will buy it no matter what it is about?
I mean, I would have put Packer in that. I would put Sproul in that. They're both dead now, but I think I'm trying to think of a contemporary author that would be there. The authors that I literally own everything they've written. Francis Schaeffer, who is sneaky good, man. You gotta. And it's not even really sneaky. It's just straight good. I mean, it's like it doesn't even sneak up on you. You can get pretty philosophical, but dude, Francis Schaeffer. I own everything by him. And I probably own everything pretty much by Packer as well.
John Stott. I love John Stott.
Yeah, Stott's phenomenal.
Is he dead?
Yeah, Stott's dead. He died years and years ago. Yeah.
A lot of those Anglican guys.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's a modern author right now. I think I really like Kevin DeYoung. I've never read a book by Kevin DeYoung that I didn't like say, dude, that was super worth it.
Have you ever listened to his podcast? He has a new podcast called
Life and Books and Everything.
Life and Books and Everything. Yeah. I haven't listened to it yet.
I think it's with Colin Hansen.
I love that guy. He likes my tweets on Twitter all the time.
Colin Hansen does?
All the time.
Interesting.
I think he's a Chiefs fan.
Really?
I think so.
Because you tweet about Chiefs. That's what you tweet about. Dude, I feel like I'm missing. Another guy, which again, he didn't write a ton comparatively to some of these guys because he died so young, but I think there's 4 or 5 books maybe by Bonhoeffer that are kind of, you got to read Life Together. You got to read Cost of Discipleship by Bonhoeffer. I mean, these are just classics that and a good biography or two by or not by him, but about him, I think is helpful. I don't know where the trajectory of Bonhoeffer's theology would have gone if he had lived past 39 years old. From the kind of German school theology and stuff like that he was from, but Letters and Papers from Prison, I mean, that stuff is just classic, stuff you got to read.
I thought of a guy I'll usually always read is Tripp. If he releases a book, Paul Tripp.
Yeah.
I love all his stuff.
The thing about him, and he admits to this, is he's written the same book like 18 times.
Yeah.
It's just like...
That's what I kind of like, though. Yeah, it's going to be the gospel.
Yeah.
But the way he applies it to pastoral ministry, even like his Advent devotional, the lead book we read,
his parenting book is
parenting, marriage.
I need to go back to it every week, it seems like.
And then a guy I wish I would write more because I really love him, and he reminds me a lot of Eugene Peterson, who's another guy I love to read.
Oh, dude, Peterson, yes.
Zach Eswine. I wish he would write more because some of his books are. It's like Peterson where you get lost in it, and he's saying deep things, but it's so well written, and like the stories. Like Imperfect Pastor is one of my favorite books ever. So I wish he would write more, but he's like a full-time pastor.
Yeah, so. And he really, really does the work of pastoral ministry. Yeah, he's one. I'm just thinking of the books I'm reading right now. I'm reading Schaeffer. I'm reading The Coddling of the American Mind. I'm reading a Eugene Peterson. I'm reading a Tripp book on parenting teenagers. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a sequel to his parenting. It's about parenting teenagers. So
you'll usually read Jared C. Wilson books. I've read a lot of his.
I've never read any of his books. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
He's written a lot of. It's kind of like Tripp. It's all very gospel centered and.
Yeah, he takes a bit more of an artistic approach than Tripp would.
Imperfect Disciple's really good.
Yeah, but that almost has like an Eswine vibe to it, where he's
like telling his story,
beautiful narrative into it.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff. All right, last part of this question. He says, "I know Logos is a great Bible study tool, but are there other specific tools or books within that target you find the most helpful?"
Do you know anything about Accordance?
I've just heard of it.
Yeah,
that one and BibleWorks are kind of the other.
BibleWorks is discontinued.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they went out of business, and so they don't update anymore. That's my problem. Is I got a new computer and I can't migrate BibleWorks over to it, and it's breaking my heart because I use BibleWorks so much. So I've looked into Accordance a little bit, but that's another sort of.
You would still use BibleWorks, and
I use it every day.
Oh, I thought you used Logos.
I do use Logos. I use Logos and BibleWorks both. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for different.
Okay.
Uses, but
yeah, very, very much more on a consumer level. Just the ESV Study Bible.
Yeah.
And the trick to that one for me was making it digital. So it's like I bought the Kindle version, and then like everything's clickable, and so which is great for all the notes and stuff like that. All the cross references are clickable and stuff like that. That made a massive difference. And then there's been a series of books that I feel like I don't know if Keller wrote all of them, but he wrote a handful of them that are like the For You books, where it's like Romans for you, Galatians for you, and going through specific books of the Bible. I found that super helpful.
Yeah. So those are not all Keller, but they're from the Good Book Company, which is out of the UK. But he's done a bunch.
Tim Chester,
Sam Albury, David Helm. Like I'm using Helm for the Daniel one he did, and those are great Bible study commentaries.
Yeah,
for sure.
And they're a bit more. They're super readable. They're not super academic or anything like that.
No, they're devotional for sure.
Nice. Well, this is a great question, Chaz. If you have a question, feel free to put it on the YouTube, just like Chaz did. I put it on the YouTube. I sound like an old man. Put it on the YouTubes, and in the comments there, or you can hit us up at To Be The Church on social media, or podcast at toBeTheChurch.com is our email address, where we would love to tackle any of the questions or comments that you have for us. Thanks so much for being here. We're glad that you chose to listen or to watch this. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.